I wish you were mine, she whispered. Some confessions don't arrive with fanfare. They slip out in the dark, under the relentless drumming of rain, when the silence between two people has finally grown too heavy to carry. A silence humming with the weight of years, of unspoken desires. That's how it happened with Emma Callaway. And I, Mike, almost missed it. Again. The thought was a dull, familiar ache in my chest. Welcome to Danito Stories. If you're returning, thank you. If you're new, you were meant to find us. Subscribe now. Don't skip. Don't rush. The dramatic part is waiting for you. Now let's begin. The rain had been pounding Millfield since noon, a gray curtain downpour that made the world feel like it was leaning in close. I was flat on my back underneath a Chevy Impala, the rusted undercarriage a grim testament to time. 12 years of running Mike's Auto and some evenings just swallowed you whole. This one was doing exactly that. Then a voice, soft yet cutting through the din. How bad is it? Gentle. Worried. I rolled out, my movements slow. It wasn't the diagnosis I needed to ponder, it was her. I wasn't ready for the familiar jolt of her presence. Emma Callaway stood just inside the garage bay, rainwater clinging to her dark hair. Her green eyes caught the harsh fluorescent light, and it was like seeing a hidden fire. She clutched her purse strap with white knuckles, bracing for a blow. She'd returned to Millfield 3 years ago. Divorce. The word was a hushed whisper around town. She'd retreated into her mother's old house and the quiet of the county library. I'd seen her around, of course. Each encounter was a delicate dance, a carefully orchestrated hello that acknowledged a shared past while keeping the door to anything more painstakingly ajar. High school. Senior year math. The memory was a vivid, bittersweet tableau. She'd tutored me twice a week in the hushed library. I was terrible at math, but hopelessly, quietly in love with the way she explained things, the gentle tilt of her head, her finger tracing the problem on the page, never once making me feel stupid. I never said a word. I was the football player hiding behind loud laughter. She was the quiet girl with a new book every week, her smiles hinting at untold stories. The chasm between us felt insurmountable. So I didn't cross it. Timing belts shot, I said, pushing myself upright. I grabbed a rag, the rough fabric a small comfort in my suddenly unsteady hand. My eyes found hers, held for a fraction of a second too long. Alternators not far behind it. Emma bit her lower lip. A nervous habit from 17 that still, at 35, could erase every thought from my head, replaced by a visceral longing to smooth away the worry etched around her mouth. That sounds expensive, she murmured, her voice barely audible. It's not cheap. I folded the rag, then unfolded it, a restless energy coursing through me. But I can do the friends and neighbors rate for you. The words felt flimsy against the weight of what I truly wanted to say. She offered a small, brittle smile that didn't reach her eyes. You've always been too kind, Mike. I shrugged, clutching the greasy rag like a talisman. Just doing my job. A lot. It was never just my job when it came to her. The garage had emptied hours ago. Now it was just the two of us, the rain and the occasional low rumble of thunder. I started filling out the paperwork for her loaner, and I could feel her presence, a silent anchor refusing to leave. She remained by the Impala, her thumb tracing the worn edge of her purse strap. Do you ever think about the past? She asked, her voice a fragile whisper that seemed to dissolve into the damp air. I looked up, my pen hovering. She wasn't looking at me. Her gaze was fixed on the oil-stained concrete. What do you mean? I asked, my voice rougher than I intended. High school. A long, pregnant pause. The choices we made. The ones we didn't. Another beat, smaller. Paths we didn't take. Something shifted in my chest, a slow, deliberate turn, like an ancient door swinging open on heavy hinges. Sometimes, I admitted, the word barely breathes. She nodded, her gaze drifting toward the garage door where the rain fell in a solid curtain. Just the rain, she said quietly. It makes me nostalgic. I handed her the loaner keys, our fingers brushing, a fleeting electric contact that sent a jolt all the way up my arm. That old, stupid electricity, undeniable. She looked down at our hands, her gaze lingering, then slowly up at me, her eyes wide, searching. She didn't move. The air thickened, charged. I should go, she said, the words a flimsy excuse. But she remained rooted to the spot, a silent question hanging between us. Emma, I began, my voice thick with a sudden desperate urgency. Lightning ripped across the sky, turning the garage stark white. Emma flinched, a hand flying to her collarbone. A short, embarrassed laugh escaped her. God, I've always hated storms. I know, I said, the words tumbling out. You used to disappear into the library during them. Every time there was a storm in high school, you'd just vanish into the stacks. She went utterly still. You noticed that? She whispered, a disbelief that stung. The rain hammered the roof. I had a single agonizing heartbeat to speak the truth that had festered for years or to swallow it back down for another 17. I noticed a lot about you, I said, the words heavy with unspoken longing. The confession hung between us in the motor oil-scented air. Emma looked at me, and it wasn't surprise on her face. It was softer, more vulnerable, a fragile hope blossoming in her eyes. She took a single hesitant step toward me. I should tell you something, she said, her voice dropping. Something I should have said a long, long time ago. My heart hammered against my ribs. I had the biggest crush on you in high school. A short, self-deprecating sound. The shy bookworm falling for the football star. I know. It's a terrible cliché. She was looking at me as if she'd just handed over something infinitely breakable, waiting to see if I would let it drop. Emma, the phone on the wall shrieked, a brutal, obscene sound that ripped through the fragile intimacy. I stood frozen for a second, my mind screaming to ignore it. But habit won. I crossed to the phone, each step a betrayal. Mrs. Hendricks. Her Buick. I kept it short, my gaze fixed on Emma, willing her to stay. When I turned back, the garage door was swinging shut. She was gone. I stood in the empty bay, the phone still warm in my hand, and thought about all the ways a person can let the same moment slip through their fingers twice. I didn't sleep. By 7 the next morning, I was on the phone with the parts supplier, paying for rush delivery myself. It wasn't just good customer service. Emma's parts arrived Thursday. I worked through lunch Friday, a restless energy propelling me. At 4:30 I changed my shirt, feeling ridiculous. I was pacing when the bell over the door chimed at 5:05. Emma walked in wearing a simple blue dress. She looked like someone who'd also endured a long night and emerged with a decision. There was a carefulness in her posture, not closed off but braced. "Hi," she said, her voice a soft inquiry. "Hi," I replied, the syllable thick with emotion. If you're feeling this story, hype it so others can find it. Comment where you're watching from now. Back to the story. She glanced at the empty bays. "It's quiet." Sent everyone home. She nodded, the 8 feet between us stretching into an immeasurable chasm. I crossed to the keyboard, took down her keys and turned back. Our fingers touched. This time I held on. She looked down at our joined hands, then slowly, hesitantly, up at my face. The bracing in her expression dropped, revealing a glimmer of hope. "Emma," I said, my voice raw. "What you told me the other night, I had a crush on you too." The words, finally spoken, felt like a dam breaking. Her eyes widened. "All through senior year," I continued. "I just didn't think. I thought you were going somewhere. I could barely pass math." She was quiet for a moment. Then, very softly, "You thought I was out of your league. Wasn't I?" A small, sad smile touched her lips. "Mike, I tutored you for 8 months because I wanted to keep sitting across the table from you." The revelation hit me with the force of a physical blow. 8 months of carefully constructed indifference, all of it a lie, I told myself. "We were idiots," I said, a wry laugh escaping me. She laughed then, a sudden, unguarded sound of pure relief. "Complete idiots." I didn't let go of her hand. "I'd like to get to know you. The person you are now. If you want that." Her laughter faded. "After the divorce," she said slowly, "I told myself I needed to be careful." She looked up, a spark of defiance in her eyes. "And then my car broke down in the rain." "Life has bad timing sometimes," I offered. "Or very good timing," she countered, a hint of mischief in her gaze. She glanced at her car. You know, my windshield wipers have been making a terrible squeaking noise. I frowned. I didn't notice anything. Maybe you should look closer. Her eyes twinkled. Took me a second. Then I understood, and something in my chest went loose and warm. That could take a while, I said, playing along. Those problems are hard to track down. I've got time, she said softly. We walked out together, the evening air smelling of cooling asphalt and the memory of rain. The light had gone gold and long at the edges of the lot. I crouched and made a show of examining the wiper blade while Emma leaned against the hood, watching me. I always wondered, she said, to the air or to me, what would have happened if one of us had just said something back then. I straightened up. She was close. Closer than she'd been in 17 years. The golden light was in her hair, and I thought, 17 years of keeping the door just barely open. Maybe the timing wasn't right, I said. And now? Her question was a fragile hope. Now I think we've been waiting long enough. I took a step toward her. She didn't step back. Emma, have dinner with me tonight. She looked at me for a long, breathtaking moment. Then the smile reached her eyes all the way. I'd like that very much. I leaned in. She met me halfway. And against my lips, barely a breath, she whispered, I wish you were mine. I pulled back just enough to look at her, her eyes open, luminous. I wish that too, I said. That was 5 years ago. Today, Emma handles the books and I handle the cars. We have a daughter with green eyes and my stubbornness. The garage still smells like motor oil. And on rainy nights, we sit on the porch and feel lucky for the courage we finally found. Here's what I know now. The words you're most afraid to say are usually the most important. They don't need the perfect moment. They just need you to stop waiting for one. Say the thing. Sometimes a whispered confession in an empty garage is exactly enough. It's everything. What would you rate this story? Drop 0 to 10 in the comments right now. If this story moved you, hit the subscribe button for more emotional journeys every day. And if it truly touched your heart, consider leaving a super thanks. Your support helps us create more stories like this. Every contribution, big or small, means a lot. Ready for the next story? It's even more dramatic than this. Click now. Thank you for being part of this journey.